Huh?
I haven't heard that she wasn't.
Okay, she's.
Okay.
What I was gonna say. If you take your council.
Oh, has anything changed on the agenda? Anybody know? No, I know, I told it. And I believe there's like 2.5 pages. Ma'am? No. Oops, that's the wrong one. Y'all see what I did?
Was that the wrong agenda? Oh, speaker.
We're gonna call the January 23rd, 2024 City of Perry Council meeting to order. Just a reminder to silence your cell phones. We have opening prayer and pledge of allegiance. Who'd like to do the prayer?
Bow heads, please. Speak alone.
We don't have speakers.
We don't. Okay. This evening, my Heavenly Father, we come to you with thanks. Thanks for keeping us to be here for another year. Lord, we thank you. Asking your Heavenly Father, you will watch over us throughout this meeting. Asking that you will direct it so that it is held in a safe and orderly fashion. Asking that you will guide our thoughts so that we can make the best decisions possible for the city of Perry. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
And I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey there. Okay, approval of the items on the consent agenda.
Gotta do roll.
I'm sorry.
Councilmember Bryan.
Here.
Councilmember Hampton.
Here.
Councilmember Woodfall.
Here.
Vice Mayor Landry. Mayor Ketchering.
Here.
Board, it's all right, we're out of practice.
I mean, I'm hitting the speaker and.
Yeah, we're all, it's out, we're out of practice, it's okay, let's get back into it.
Must be the altitude. That's got me messed up. Okay, approval, now approval of the items on the consent agenda. Approval to read by title only, resolution 2024-1. Motion.
Councilmember Bryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Hampton.
Yes.
Councilmember Woodfall.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Landry. Mayor Ketchering.
Yes. Receiving requests from the general public, any person wishing to address the council regarding non-agenda items will be given 5 minutes. Whereas groups or delegations will be given 10 minutes for discussion.
If you look at that seat right there, we're missing our regular attendee.
Parliamentarian, we call him parliamentarian.
He would actually go out and try to recruit people to come to the council. He couldn't do that. But what he did do, Penny knew him down south.
His son, yeah,
And all the sons property,
probably all of it. He was.
yeah. And he enjoyed calling her and calling her and calling her. And Danielle,
He called me the Tuesday before he passed.
he called,
Yeah.
he would ask me something, I said, call Danielle. But he's gone and, I knew him in high school. He was a rough and tough one then.
It's pretty rough and tough. It is.
It's pretty scary for an
It got
8-year-old
softer
guy.
over time.
I
Yeah,
didn't realize until, he ran for city council in North Miami
mhm.
in the 70s. So he was no stranger to politics.
One thing they didn't, put that I haven't seen anywhere is he tried out for the Miami Dolphins
Oh, wow.
and of course made the team. But he made more in construction work than playing football, so.
Those were different days, weren't they?
That was like 1961. I remember him telling me that story.
Yeah.
I was in diapers.
A lot of Taylor County history went in the grave with that man.
Yeah.
That's true.
He knew, every time you talked to him, he always talked about the past.
I knew it vividly.
Yes, he did.
Any other person from the public like to speak? Okay, bids, any bids that are to be opened in the council meeting and public forum will be done during this time.
We do. I'll read my regular statement here. Please read before the opening of sealed bids. At this time, I'm opening the sealed bids for re-roofing of 2 restaurant buildings at Rosehead Park. I will only be reading out the vendor and the amount of the bid. There will be no discussion at this time about any bids that's being opened. These bids will be given back to the purchasing agent and then to the department which the sealed bid is for. The city reserves the right to reject any and all bids. The city reserves the right to select the bidder, waive any informalities, or to accept the bid deemed to be in the best interest of the city. Any errors in the bid submissions are the responsibility of the bidder. I'll have you folks sign this after, okay? And the first one is Walker Roofing. And they're saying $7,320. Next one's Rogers Roofing. And 28,000.
Quite a difference.
A little different.
Big difference.
We'll have to look into that later. And this one's 6,600 for Powell and Sons Roof.
That all of them?
Yeah, that's it.
Very
Every
good.
other bid we've had before you were under the 25,000 threshold. Or you'd have to vote on them for acceptance.
Very good. Agenda item 6A, it was said, Little Hawk's not gonna be here.
Right.
Okay, we're gonna table this.
If he's not here, do we want to address any concerns with that? I talked with Shirley about it. It feels like he's kind of using this as his platform for running. I don't know if there's any. I don't know what we can do, but
Nothing.
Because it's freedom of speech.
Well, it's the mayor and the city manager's agenda.
No.
You don't have to face on the
Correct. So you can control that. He can get his 5 minutes that any other citizen can have. But
Mhm.
you do have the right as the city manager and mayor that this is your agendas. And if they're going to keep coming with the same tale each week, you know, we've heard you, we're working on it.
Well,
There's
Well, it's-
provisions in public meeting access that says if someone's merely trying to agitate you can cut them off and have them removed from the podium or have them step away.
That's the way to handle it.
And that's the way you handle it under the law that's established. And there's the documentation and statute and guidelines that covers that. And I've got the documentation that I can provide to the council if you want me to for that. That'd be my suggestion, is to handle it, how the statutes say to handle it.
Okay. Agenda item 6B, city manager to discuss with council hiring a grant manager and council to take any actions deemed necessary.
I gave you a little summary, but we're finally starting to apply for grants and get grants. We got that $5 million, what's the 5 million, 4.7 something for replacing the Listus concrete water main. We got a 20 million request for appropriations for public safety building. We got another 20 million requests through Swanee River and kind of state revolving for the new water treatment plant. All these things take time to research. They take time to get the paperwork filled in right, all that kind of stuff that we just don't have time to do right. I think we can make a lot of progress in this city if I have someone writing and managing the grants.
If what I've been told about grants is, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone feel free to, is when you get the grant is when the work starts.
The
Other-
reporting, the management on the back end is
Yeah.
a major portion of the grant. And it's time consuming, extremely time consuming.
Deadlines.
Yes.
And everyone has their own system. You have to learn about that particular grant and what paperwork, how they want it, how to submit it. It's a full-time job.
Yeah, those
I believe
formula
that.
grants of the past that we were able to just apply for and get it is gone. They've gone more of a competitive process on all this stuff. And there's a lot of reporting behind the scenes that you have to do.
Yeah, I've been told grants have gotten a lot more intense as well. I work with at the airport, the grants departments across the street from me, and every now and then we talk, and she was telling me that they got more intense as far as what they want and keeping up with and reporting times and how they report and just the whole thing.
It's-
Not easy
You're
anymore.
assuming you're gonna get all these grants. Not gonna happen. I'll never, myself personally, never support a full-time person. We were looking, or supposed to be looking at a contract person, whatever happened there.
Hired them, told them to get after it. Nothing ever happened.
What,
Nothing ever happened. We hired this Widow Bryan's. It's the same company that's doing our,
Yeah, FEMA contract.
we hired them well before the storm to do that for us. No progress.
Well, they sent us a bunch of stuff. A lot of it was stuff Jamie was familiar with for the police. And a lot of these grants, they're not 100% things, and
true?
it's, do you really need that stuff? And it was kind of, it wasn't real what we were looking for.
There wasn't a lot of research on their part into what available grants were there. They were just looking at the traditional grants that we've already applied for in the past, but not a lot of work behind it.
Yeah, and then they said, of course, SRFs and USDA, it's like, well, we're already on board with that. We don't need to bring somebody in for that.
Most of these grants are paid for their
Portions of it.
portion of them, the grant writer actually writing them.
Is there anybody that does contract administration versus, somebody that does it as a contractor?
But, in the past, we've used Fred Fox out of St. Augustine for the,
CDBG.
CDBG grants. But they exclusively do those grants. That's it.
CDBG.
Yeah.
What
So-
happened to that grant, by the way?
I don't know. They sent us an email a couple weeks ago.
We applied for wastewater lift station,
No,
Stand by.
one that was for the water well.
That never went anywhere because they still haven't selected a site. And they said the CDBG would only approve it
Makes sense.
unless we own the property.
Well, the CDBG, there are contract people out there that do that. That's all they do.
we use Fred Fox every year, and the only CDBG one I know that we've gotten is the shade thingies that ain't out there.
Is what?
The,
The stuff Bob did way back when, the
Oh.
awning
That
project,
rescinded.
didn't happen, yeah.
so I don't know of any CBDG that we've done in the last 15 years that actually turned into something.
True. But have we applied?
I've applied twice already.
Have we? You've applied for 2 CDBGs. What were they for?
First one was the well, and the second one was for standby generators at lift stations.
No, you didn't apply for it, that's, he's talking in a specific term. You didn't apply for it, we were investigating it, we can still apply for, but until we own that piece of property, it's kind of on hold.
Yeah,
That's
May I ask the question? Is city government allowed to hire OPS workers?
Yeah.
Couldn't we go that route? Could it be part-time? No,
yeah.
OPS,
With-
there's no,
With some of these, this particular wastewater, those. That's just not a grant writer. That's a specific. And, it's gonna take an engineer for the take for that. And
All
there's
these
gotta,
grants, you'll be working with
yeah,
city staff, engineers.
there's gotta be engineers that do that. Contract type. Gotta be.
And provide those.
Do they do
services.
it or?
Well, they've done
They
whatever,
work-
they've written a lot of grants and gotten them for us. The SRFs and USDA ones.
Or do they manage it?
No, they didn't manage it.
No.
Yeah, I do that.
Well, we need to find, I'm sure they will know somebody that does that.
It's a good.
That's kind of how we got in touch with the Sercap guy that did the first riff, and he's gonna submit our second riff. And he submitted the one to the Swanee River.
Yeah,
Does he do?
He does some of them.
I mean, does he manage it too?
He doesn't manage them.
well, let's start. Me speaking again. Trying to find a contract type.
City of Mariana waited till they had 10 grants going at the same time, and then they hired a full-time person to manage it and keep it going. If I can get some more coming,
I'll tell you what my concern is. We're gonna hire one and we can never get rid of them when we don't need them. That don't happen.
if it's
Do they-
OPS.
That's true too. That,
Get rid of them,
in case you want to look at contracting, maybe OPS and
I don't know.
see how it
Is
works
there-
out.
Temporary,
You
temporary,
can-
is there a,
part-time.
See how it works out, Bill, OPS.
is there,
I think we should give them
do the grants still have administration fees? You can,
Some do, some
Some.
don't.
oh, both ways. Okay.
Whatever parameters that governing board invent when they.
True.
What's OPS stand for?
other persons.
I never knew what it stood for either. Oh, it was just basically full-time with benefits or just by the hour type thing. It makes a difference, isn't it?
Benefits. I think.
Any other discussion on this one or?
Probably retired person. Yes.
I think we need to. We're talking about doing something in the future, so let's see if we can find this contract somehow.
I'm gonna keep trying to find grants myself and build this backlog up.
Yeah.
And when it gets too much that I can handle, or the staff can handle, we're gonna need somebody.
John, you forget, there's 24 hours in a day.
I need you to help me, about 18 of them.
You're only at 23. Okay, agenda item 6C, we're gonna table. For now, agenda item 6D. Resolution. Didn't we just do this? Resolution 2024-01. A policy, okay, we.
Just had a
To read by title only, yeah, okay. A policy resolution of the city of Perry, Florida, in reference to tobacco-free in-city vehicles and providing an effective date.
This was
That
requested
is-
by some of the staff. Not allowed to back in city vehicles.
Of any kind.
I would.
That includes,
Policy, well, you guys probably got different ways to control that, don't you? What tobacco? And that,
that includes vaping, it looks like, also electronic.
well, I don't think it's good. I would change, 1, 2, 3, 4th line. Company to see. And same thing on the next page, we're under the free policy, 1, 2, 3, 4. I read, at the end, I realized where you got this one, that's in there, but now. And go to, responsibilities. Second sentence, employees who do not conform to this policy may. And, maybe they should say will, because well, one of them needs to be changed because it depends on what's in the, personnel rules. Go back to your first page. 1, 2, 3, third whereas. It says disciplinary actions defined in the personnel rules. That and this should kind of all together, I think. You see,
Yeah.
but other than that, I'll make the motion, let's do it.
Second,
Councilmember Rhines,
Yes.
Councilmember Hampton,
yes.
Councilmember Woodhull.
Yes.
Mayor Gentry.
Yes. All right, agenda item 6E. Council to discuss exercise equipment and disc golf for Lothridge Park and to take any actions deemed necessary.
I read what John put, and I then, of course, you know, he is a pro golf.
Right.
And I talked to someone else who has got experience where he used to live with these things. He said some of these 100 yards apart. Won't work here. Nobody get hurt.
We're not doing.
No, this thing, no.
Well,
You round down 98 and get your women
We
out.
still want to move forward with the exercise equipment
I know.
around the walking trail.
What was that, John?
We still want to move forward with the exercise equipment.
Oh,
around the
yes.
Walking trail.
Mhm.
All that what? It was,
I think one of them was 18, right, just below 20. And it's, I think that's what that's doing installation, which I think, I don't see why we couldn't handle.
no, the one with 20 was.
I didn't bring them over here.
I won't, they need to install equipment you're climbing on and all that.
I mean, but yeah, I agree with that.
Yes, so the company's gonna do it.
Is that similar to the equipment that's at Heritage?
It's-
No,
it's-
it-
It's,
more than that.
it's similar to the equipment that's at, the sports.
The pump, the complex.
Oh, okay.
want you to do push-ups on to do, use your weight for the push-ups, and things like that. It's more than just a pull-up bar.
Of course, we'll have to put out for bid. At least we know what kind of dollar we're talking. At least we got a contract. Feedback. Good to know. That's settled then.
Need a motion?
Need a motion, or do we come back with a budget amendment, or?
Probably just come out with a budget amendment. We're not really making any decisions, so.
Well, I want the consensus that you're gonna approve it, or we're wasting our time.
when the bids come in, I guess we'll have to look at it then.
No, it's state contract.
Oh, you're gonna, okay, I got you. Gotcha. All right, agenda item 6F. Lincoln, hear me? Sorta, kinda. Yeah, they're louder than I am. It's hard to believe, but anyway. Fire department to discuss budget for part-time employee and council to take any actions deemed necessary.
Better.
I think John was gonna do the talking.
We'd like our two part-time employees just to cut back on overtime. This is the budget, 22-23. We budgeted 60,000 for overtime in the fire department and we paid out 118, almost double. And we were short 48 grand in regular salaries. Already this year, it's right at double as well.
Can you-
It's in order.
Can you get part-time folks?
Can we what?
Say, can you get part-time folks
A lot easier we can get full-time people.
to do overtime? I mean,
The part-time people, they work like, the two we got now works at county fire.
yeah,
There's only certain days they can work.
gotcha.
So we need somebody that can fill in them days that they can't work. That all of our guys is basically the full-time guys now basically burn out on overtime.
So we've already got two.
So this will just take it to people, it'll take you part-time to regular time instead of time and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not gonna increase anything.
And they're not benefited, so.
Benefits.
No
That's what they say.
Every hour they work is taken away a time and a half hour.
Yeah, yeah.
We're already, this is current, or actually through November, you're at 21,000 for overtime versus budget of 10. Regular salary is 104 versus a budget of 138. So this will get us back in line to budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you get two?
I'm sure. I think we already got two.
I'm gonna say you
applicants
already got.
applied for part-time work.
Well, that's just like you guys. You don't you have part-time that fill in and
Yeah.
it's the only way you can go.
Yeah, you're gonna have to, because if not, you'll get them to the point where they're gonna be working,
Yeah.
and that puts you in a dangerous range when you put working on 48 or more.
Yeah.
We were really bad through Christmas with vacation and a couple of people
Mhm.
out and this is our hurt.
Yeah,
We still got one
So-
open position now.
so
for
yours,
full-time. Right, and we got one out on workers' comp and one out on, medical for surgery he's had and won't be back till, end of April, 1st of May.
so you need somebody to work at his original shift, so, yeah. Yeah, cool.
So what action need us to take on this?
Mhm.
So,
I mean, they're pretty great positions, so we need,
What I would say is make it work.
I'm
I
doing
mean,
my
we
best.
gotta,
I mean,
we gotta make it work.
yeah,
Yeah, cause you gotta have them.
Yeah.
we're doing it to get the budget back right. We're out of budget right now.
Yeah.
We could make a budget amendment moving it from overtime to regular.
I wouldn't mess with the overtime, but we still gonna have overtime. It just won't be that much, hopefully.
Yeah, cause you don't never know when someone might get sick and need to go
Exactly.
home.
You can
Yeah.
adjust it later on too.
yeah, you call 5 people, and nobody answers.
Okay.
It still needs to be
I'm
addressed.
just saying that
Yeah,
you still got
yeah.
a bottom line in the fire department and you're funding this with that overtime. That's what I was told.
If we're working overtime to make it regular.
Whatever you need to do.
While we're on that. Looking at of course, last year, the overtime in the water and the sewer. If you brought in a person. Half in water, half in sewer. See how that looks.
We also had a,
I want person, but. I don't see how a floater would necessarily be the right way to go with that. A lot of the overtime and time spent in the water over the last budget year was we did not have people. We had a lot of shifting positions with JL events and. I mean, I would love another man by all means, and I know when we build the next water plant, we're going to need another operator, period. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But
We're not gonna move to an A or.
no.
Yeah.
There's no expected move up. And on the water side, currently, we're not even a B, we're only a C plant. The wastewater side, we're a B.
Yeah.
But there shouldn't be anything predicted to show us needing to go to a B yet.
And the wastewater, the supervisor fell very sick. And he's, so that's why they got.
But if we want to make a budget amendment to add a man to the water or the wastewater, I don't have any complaints with that.
How you gonna pay for
I need one in parks too.
Red door.
Yeah.
Next.
Item, agenda item 6G, nothing off. Attorney Demps to discuss the impact of Senate Bill 774 and Form 6. And council may take any action deemed necessary. I don't know if y'all seen the front page of a lot of papers around the state of Florida. There's been a lot of resignations among city council members.
Yep.
Just a question, should we, that last agenda item, should we vote on that?
well, they're saying it will work.
Come up for the part-time for the fire.
Oh, I don't know that we really got to.
I mean, I could do. I
Into the budget, though.
I could do a motion.
Yeah.
I want to that you're
I'm
creating
just making
position.
sure, so.
Because
Yeah, I don't-
You're also saving money, present this is saving money, but you're still in
And I'll
budget.
just move it from overtime to regular and
Or
we'll
just a
we'll talk about the
consensus.
dollar amount.
Mhm.
Here's basically telling us what you're doing. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's a good question. I mean, is any action deemed necessary could mean voting on it. Anyway, Ms. Demps,
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
So, this Senate Bill 774, has had municipal officers only file a Form 1. And this Form 6 is now gonna place local officials on the same disclosure standard or level as the sheriff, as the governor, as state legislative representatives. And just so you can see the difference, that Form 6 used to be like a 5,000 people filing every year, and Form 1 was like about 32,000 people. So it's gonna change that dynamic quite a bit. And what it seems like people have, the purpose of the bill is, basically to be a deterrent towards corruption, and the idea that those who sit in office and can make decisions regarding finances and vendors and things, that their financial lives should be disclosed. But with Form 6, you have to disclose liabilities more than $1,000. So whereas in Form 1 it's $10,000. So it's a lot more, some people use the word intrusive, but there is an expectation now that your public salary is disclosed, your sources for your salaries or income, including secondary income, is disclosed. If you have a client or a vendor that provides, not a vendor, a client that provides up to 10% or more of your gross income, you're to disclose that. So
For
you can
for a
imagine,
business owner.
or business
Yeah.
owner. And you to disclose that, which can be very problematic, particularly like with lawyers and doctors, where the privacy of your clients and who may be providing 10% of your gross income could be very problematic. But, a lot of those things, whereas, you'll be given assessments of household incomes and different things that you just didn't have to disclose before. And even in Form 1, where you would have to note different things like liabilities, you wouldn't necessarily have to say the amount, even though there's things like credit card debt, which is excluded, but it's a lot more taxing of a form to turn over. It's a lot more personal information, and a number of the councils, as you all will know, are not bringing in a lot of money A lot of people, it's almost like just volunteerism. And so there are a lot of pushback, particularly in some of the places I was reading about in North Central Florida, where a lot of people are like, this is not worth it. And there has, when I contacted the Florida Commission on Ethics, particularly wanting to know more about, has there been any movement? Because some discussion has stated that they felt that it was at least the incoming candidates or anyone who runs in the November elections are now aware of that standard, and they can make a decision whether seeking office, whether it's worth having that disclosure be a part of it. And so there's been some pushes to ask for all current candidates or all current municipal officers to be grandfathered in until the next election, but that's been a strong no. But I can say the Florida Commission on Ethics, they have a hotline that's available, and they actually are really responsive to any calls you may have or any concerns that you may have. CPAs and attorneys can assist with this filing. The filing is due on July 1st, 2024. But something that's different about Form 6 as well is that you also have to present sort of like a shot of what your assets and liabilities are as of December 31st, 2023. And that was not required. So it's much, well, depending on what your assets and liabilities are, it's much more work with this particular disclosure. And the reason why a lot of people are not wanting to go forth is because of that, that violation of privacy. Some people believe it's a violation of privacy, but also just the idea that in some of these places, there people are just saying it's not justified. We work too hard, and now you're going to ask us every year to do this full disclosure when often the power in which to I won't even say the power, but in large ways, it's just a really great public service effort. So they're pushing back, and a lot of people didn't recognize the difference. It sounded, it sounded very fair, right? The governor does it, state legislators do it, the sheriff's office has to do it. But now that, every municipal elected officer has to do it, there are people like, well, we're not gonna do it. If you do not comply with this on July 1st, 2024, it'll be $25 a day penalty up to, I think it was $1,500.
Just like the Form 1, basically.
Yeah, Form 1 was $25 a day as well. So I didn't know exactly what type of questions people had, but it does seem like there has been a sort of mass falling out, if you would, or at least people threatening to quit. And I guess we'll know more closer to July 1st. But you're not required to pay for an attorney and accountant, but it is pretty involved, and so you don't want to be potentially brought up on any type of accusations of disclosing inaccurate information. Maybe something that you consider, especially, but if you're in business, you probably already have an accountant that can help you with this, but you don't have to be in business for this to be much of a pain in your side. I know it is disconcerting, but it does seem like that is going to be the standard, and seems to be like that there's not going to be a change. But I guess this legislative session, something could happen. But right now, I was asking for all possible wiggle room to have some insight, and there just doesn't seem to be any. Except to say, and this is not a wiggle room, that they're really wanting the violations of not doing this can result in impeachment, suspension, and removal, and fines up to $20,000. So they would rather have you ask questions early and many times versus having anyone or in mass or people in mass just sort of curtail the form requirement or don't do it correctly. So because of that, this is probably the best time to contact the Florida Commission on Ethics if you have questions. But the entire application process can be done online. There is opportunities for you to submit different things like tax returns, but you don't have to, as long as you you sign under penalty of perjury of what your income is, your gross income is, what your secondary income is, and all the different, specifics that are pretty clear. When I say pretty clear, they're in the instructions on the application, but again, if you have any questions, you would definitely want to get in touch with them. So this is due July 1st. So I would suggest that you start working on it little by little now, so that if you come to a question, because I was trying to see what questions people may have. The biggest issue I would be wondering if, because as we know, most people working in city council, in the state of Florida, in smaller municipalities, this is like their part-time job. They have other things. So, the people who do have issues of privilege with their clients, you know, those are the people who may have the biggest issue when it comes to disclosure. And I'm sure, I would argue that privilege trumps everything, but, like if I was a medical doctor and I had a particular client or business, I don't know how they can make me turn over information, that wouldn't violate HIPAA as to like, if I had a particular like private. I know it sounds ridiculous, but like, what if Michael Jackson was my client? There are private doctors who cater to a family or to a very, I would think that the right of privacy of that person trumps the right for public disclosure. So I foresee that there may be some options where people have to disclose internally, and it has to be available, but there may be limitations on what the public sees, whether it's initials or something. But again, they state that the whole reason is to deter corruption and the idea of anyone basically benefiting from some action that the municipality does, that they somehow get backdoor benefit from it. So does anybody have any questions about SB 774, Form 6?
The only comment I want to make is if I read correctly, it has to be done online. Is that correct?
Well, everything I saw said online.
We used to do it
Yes,
on
well,
paper.
Right, but I'm just saying, I think they
That's the
switched
new
it.
rule.
They
This
created a
year,
whole system.
It came with this, I think. It's got to,
Yeah.
you got to set up some kind of online account, and do everything.
Yeah, but you
online.
can't upload a lot of things, but yeah, the whole system is online. That's.
I wonder how many resigned.
A
Me
lot.
too, because it seems like a lot of people are threatening to.
Well, they better have by December.
Yeah,
Exactly.
right, but they would still be held to that. That's a
Mhm.
very good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That they should have already resigned, because if they served any more time after, they would still be due.
Yeah, it's too late now. It's too
Mhm.
late. I mean, I saw several around the state. When I travel around, I pick up local papers just to kind of compare them to us, and they got their own problems too, but a lot of them, their last meeting in December, they said, sayonara, it's my last meeting. And took off and everything. I mean, I saw it everywhere.
Yeah,
This is something that, say, the legislature has been trying to pass for years. And they finally, and it's basically, I have to do it, so you should.
Mhm.
But that's a very good point. If anyone chose to resign because of this, or for whatever reason, you would still be held to having to disclose.
If
So,
you're right, if you served January 1st and resigned at midnight, you still gotta do the Form 6. So, yeah. I think there's something about the reporting on a specific day as far as what your net worth is.
yeah, December 31st, 2023.
Okay.
I did ask for clarity, because if the way it reads is almost like, have you guys all done your December 31st reports? So as long as it's accurate as to that date,
Okay.
or a date earlier or closer to your filing.
Yeah, I thought there was some kind of varying date you could pick or something is what I read, but maybe I read wrong or they wrote it wrong. I'm not sure.
It reads something like December 31st or an earlier date.
Or an earlier,
an
okay.
earlier
So you just kind of pick a date before December 31st, pick that date and say I was worth this much, I owed this much or whatever on that date. Because
Like,
Anyway, we'll figure all that out.
I just want to answer you correctly, because when I read over it, I was thinking at least by the 31st, but,
We can figure all that out and, yeah, we can,
yeah.
yeah,
So
Anyway.
safest is whatever your net worth was on December 31st.
Because most people do their taxes then, so.
very good. Anybody have any questions?
Not yet.
Tell me about it. Agenda item 6.
Wait a minute, are you doing both? I'm gonna talk about Bacon Street now.
No, I'll wait till the item on the building.
Okay, agenda item 6H, Finance Director Penny Stephanie. To present financials for the fiscal year 22-23 and council take any actions deemed necessary.
It's not really the financials, but that's it.
Yeah.
This is just the cash report, and Bill wanted to just compare from October 1 of 22 to September 30 of 23. And the audit just started this week, so.
They
Or
did
last
start.
week. Yeah. Better let you
The,
know.
if you just look at a few things. Fire, of course, over budget due to, the overtime issue. Water revenue budget equals actual. Gas revenue is 700,000 over budget. But now, keep in mind, 700, you have to take the cost in.
Yep.
Solid waste, vehicle maintenance, 100% over. As to looking at that cash report, the CRA money, could that be used for striping, painting?
As long as it's in the right area.
I mean, I'm talking about downtown, I get a lot of people talking about.
There's a lot of terrible.
Yeah.
Until we run out of that money, because we let it lapse. There's no more CRA.
Yeah, yeah. well,
We gotta
need
use
to-
it up for what
we
it's
need to
designated.
Do whatever we're supposed to do with it, and I think, scrapping would be a good thing.
I'm buying trees with it.
But
I'm buying some trees with it. I'm getting rid of all these tree myrtles.
getting rid of all of them,
All
what you putting in place?
the trees.
Bonsai trees, little,
We got some options, but we're looking at Dalhoon hollies.
He's got the ag people involved with them.
those things are,
Yeah.
It'll be green all year round. It'll look good, not like the crepe myrtles.
those things are hitting, I mean, you can run your car into them, can't you, before the curve hits you?
Okay.
Some of them, yeah.
That's good. What, then I noticed on the water, the CD, FICA, was 780 and 540. What happened? You know, right off,
Water revenue and the CD
yeah.
probably spent it.
Nothing.
I mean,
Uh,
I can come back to you with an answer,
Yeah. Okay,
but you know, the money was there, we probably transferred it
Yeah.
or something. And one of them was rolled with, Ameris
yeah,
Bank, and then we rolled it, so for this report, I just consolidated with the current one, because Ameris isn't in the picture anymore. But, we probably spent it on, well, it's designated for it, just with CD.
Any more questions?
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
How much longer do we have of our funds
How much do we have?
in
Oh, till 25.
it? That's
Well, it needs to be spent by 25, so we've got all the 20.
okay.
Yeah, we need to,
Doesn't depend when you got it, you got two separate
correct.
installments, so some of it has to be spent
Yes, and it's
When-
getting used this year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
And actually, he's gonna talk about the status of disaster too, but I think having some of that ARPA money to help fill in the shortfalls of insurance and FEMA might not be a bad thing.
Hmm.
Got some cash to use. So.
We
Just file
go-
that for the next conversation on that.
We're gonna look at this striping.
There's definitely some downtown areas. that
Yeah,
need some improvement. I agree. Traffic, it would help with traffic control.
Oh, okay.
Most definitely.
All right, any more discussion on that? Now we'll move on to agenda item 6I. Council to discuss utility billing late fees and take any actions deemed necessary.
And also the agreement fees, but we had suspended them due to the storm. And, as of the next cycle, that'll be 5 months. So that's given everybody 5 months, break, so I'd like to get back to doing normal stuff. Incentives to pay their
Yeah.
bills on time.
now that we're getting bills on that.
Well, that's up to the post office and that,
Well, the one I got this month was round up.
well, that was just you. This
No.
is an ongoing thing, but our bills go out on
I
time
think
every
most
month.
people did.
So the new software is going in still, is it still on track for like
summer.
January, sometime in the summer?
That's what we heard, and then people could sign up, get it online, plus people can always go online now and look at their bill.
Well, if you got your account number, that's the only thing about it.
Why isn't the usage rate on the online bill?
I don't
I
think,
guess have the amount, doesn't give you use,
because I think the company that did it was just focusing on the dollars. Because it's a payment thing, nothing else.
but,
It's not your bill online, it's just you can look at the dollar.
yeah, but usage is important.
I'm sure that'll be with the new system.
And, people could call us.
That
if
will
they-
be on the new
All
system.
of it.
Thank you.
So you need us to. Are you advising us or are you asking us if we should go ahead and do it?
Yeah, you have to. Because I said
Unsuspend
I
it,
told you I was going to reinstate late fees without telling y'all first.
right?
So if there's no objections,
We're gonna let them go.
It's okay with me. I mean,
y'all want to give a consensus
we're a vote.
or a vote? So maybe a motion or something saying that they suspend the emergency, suspension of the late fees and the agreement fees.
Motion to.
Motion to unsuspend. You want,
Have you been able to tell a difference since Buckeye closed as far as you receiving payments?
No
It's
difference.
been doing good. Good.
a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Bronze,
Yes.
Councilmember Hampton,
Yes,
Councilmember Woodfall,
No,
Mayor Ketchum.
Yes. Okay, agenda item 6J. Yes, ma'am.
so that would be the late fees plus the extension fees.
mhm.
Can I change my vote? Go ahead. This one.
Thanks.
I,
Agenda item 6J, council to discuss rural infrastructure fund grant application. Approve city manager to sign the application and take any actions deemed necessary.
This is the same type grant that we got for the asbestos concrete main line. But this one's just for Hurricane Idalia impacted areas. I think it was 7 counties they opened it up for. So I didn't want to miss this opportunity to get something in. I didn't really want to do a whole nother large construction project, what they said we could do, but I don't think it's right to ask for that kind of money right now. So we're gonna do a City of Perry stormwater planning and preparation grant. Since we don't have a stormwater department, stormwater budget, stormwater maintenance, stormwater operating procedures, none of that. Hopefully that'll help us get more projects down the road or stormwater projects. I just-
Motion to do it.
One question. Now, our regional planning council. Can you help us? With some stuff that you need? You spoken with Scott.
I asked you about that. Specifically stormwater stuff.
Well, anything that might be very helpful. Water.
Yeah, that's good. Now we'll move to, then.
Okay.
Well, we have a motion.
Motion we have a motion standing.
Okay, we have a second.
Sure.
I'm sorry, getting ahead of myself.
Second.
Councilmember Bronze,
Yes.
Councilmember Hampton,
Yes.
Councilmember Woodfall.
Yes.
Mayor Catherine.
Yes. Thank y'all for helping keep me straight. Didn't just start today either.
It happens.
Agenda item 6K. City manager to discuss loan resolution to receive the USDA funding for the vacuum truck for what the wastewater department, and council will take any actions deemed necessary.
We applied for the USDA grant for the backjetter truck for wastewater department. Initially, we thought it was gonna be a 55% grant, 45% we pay. And I guess when they changed to the 2020 census data, we were above the median income. I know it wasn't the population was fine, so it had to be the median income. That knocked us down to only a 35% grant. But that'll help us with $122,800 that USDA will cover on that jetter truck.
It's better than nothing.
And how much is it?
350. It's the resolution to accept it, and the mayor will have to sign that in the application.
Motion to do it.
Second.
Councilmember Bronze,
Yes.
Councilmember Hampton,
Yes.
Councilmember Woodfall.
Yes.
Mayor Catherine.
Yes.
John, on the certificate of public meeting. This is July 25th. The board is in mayor. Is that okay? Back. Page.
Not a bad name.
Yep.
That was when you first,
When we first applied for it.
yeah.
Yeah, I just want. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I was just wondering if the date, the mayor's signature. No. I don't know.
She got it.
So it's just conducted, so it's.
You did that.
The date.
I mean, if you
Oh,
read,
yeah.
gives it context of the past or.
I wasn't even close. I wasn't even close.
No, it's, I just don't know if that should be.
Real good. You got this. When it was really signed.
Okay, agenda item 6L. Council to discuss city-owned property damages and insurance from Hurricane Idalia and take any actions deemed necessary.
I want y'all to be aware that our insurance estimated total of 1.3 million, how I said?
Yeah, 3.29,329,000.
And they've written us checks for 367,000.
Ouch.
After they've taken the deductible and depreciation.
Depreciation.
So we're about $1 million short of what they said we had damage to what we got from insurance. So when people start asking you why are things moving so slow, I'm kind of waiting on, I want to know what FEMA's going to do for us. Before we start making all these repairs with our money.
FEMA's in here right now, aren't they?
But I've heard from everybody that money's real slow coming.
And some of them had to redo it.
Sometimes it comes with strings
Mhm.
attached.
I think FEMA's estimate was 1.6 million.
It was 6 million because a lot of things weren't insured, like the streets and street signs and,
Veterans part.
well, that was not put on the insurance because it's granite, but it managed to get damaged.
What was that?
The granite, the top caps for two of the monuments, but they're getting fixed. Or getting redone, actually.
And two of the benches.
And two of the benches, yes, ma'am.
And these projects, I don't have it on here, but the turnkey projects, once they're done, they're gonna send us an invoice for the deductible. We're just gonna have to write them a check, whatever the deductible was for these buildings here.
You told me it's gonna be about 400,000. So that's what I'm saying, we can use some CRA money for some of the stuff that's in the CRA area. I mean, roof for the depot. But FEMA might give us the mitigation to get a metal roof on that, so that'd be quite decorative and sturdier. Just a lot of ifs. And these FEMA people are inspecting daily. And almost every day it's 4, 5, or 6 people for each project. And today they came to look at fencing in the booster station and over the wastewater plant. And that's all they did was fencing. And if they're moving at that slow pace, they've not looked at hardly anything. They spent an entire 6 hours here at City Hall, just looking at City Hall, not the police department, not the council room, but City Hall.
It's one of the main reasons I've been slow in working on things, because if we do fix everything like it's supposed to be, we spend $1 million of our own money.
At least.
Oh, yeah, one more.
But more insurance money is coming, right?
I don't think so. Not until we start working on these things and send them in the actual cost. If it's higher than what they estimated.
We've got a pool with all the stuff we fixed already.
When you have a hurricane like that, every single structure has its own hurricane deductible. It ain't like the city has one big hurricane deductible. It's every single structure. The same thing with schools running into, school system.
County as well. Everybody, I guess, in the same insurance fund.
Or they're all modeled the same way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a crappy day.
On those lifting stations I see they're up there by number. Is, the one on Thomas Up Lane, is it on there?
Hope so.
Yeah,
To my corner of Thomas Dempsey Water,
uh-huh.
it's not on there.
Number one,
I don't know the actual number, I think it's 9.
and we got $1,400.
I'm not sure about the number, we use the names, but every lift station is dedicated a number. Thought it was 9, but I don't know of any damage that was reported there.
Was there damage on it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Was it more than $1,400?
I can't tell you how much it was, but I know it was damage done to it. And that was one of my things tonight I was gonna discuss. It needs to be replaced. What can we do about the smell from it? I don't know, when was that initial lifting station put there? Do we know the year? And how often we replace them? How does that go? We don't replace them until we have problems, what?
Thomas Dempsey and Warner?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Which one, John?
Warner and Thomas Dump, that lifting station right across from Tidewater.
The lift station was upgraded in 2005. From submersible pumps to above ground pumps. I think if I would have to guess, I think we rerouted Goodman's. They were tied into a force main when we rerouted it. Basically to relieve them fighting against each other.
Mhm.
Goodman's dumps in the water. We didn't have a smell issue, but we were having a fibrous mat. And I mean, I think I know where it's coming from, but I can't say with certainty.
Mhm.
But basically what it was doing, the mat was building up. And it was affecting the floats. To where the station wouldn't turn on and off properly. But basically, when we rerouted it, we ran the piping down into the well. To relieve the gases,
Mhm.
okay? We use the turbulence to keep the lift station clean. But there was no smell at that time when we done it. And we put these cherry deodorizers in the station. And I've actually talked to a company, they handle odor issues.
Mhm.
But I think one thing that would help is the doors on the station are just chain link doors.
Mhm.
Maybe if they were solid closed doors and we maybe help the venting at the top, that should help. But I drive by from time to time. I don't smell it all the time, but now I work around sewer all the time, so I'm not the best,
Yeah.
the best judge. But yeah, it comes and goes and it is stronger than other times, but when that matting was in there, it was bad.
It was real bad. Mhm. It has calmed down a lot, but when we get like that rain and we get a lot of wind, that's when I go to get the phone calls.
Below pressure.
Yeah, so.
And that may be,
Is that the only one we have that problem out of?
I mean, the Granger lift station, we get a lot of, ketchup packets and things, ramen noodles, shoes, push a gel. And, we basically have to, flood the station, pump it out, get all the stuff out of it.
Sure.
But it's a constant,
Mhm.
And, some stations have, we have grease and rag issues in most stations. But, like I said, just driving by at certain times, Warner is the only one that I know we've had smell.
Mhm. Mhm. As long as we're looking into it and trying to find a better way of controlling it, we're fine with that.
Is there any way that you could make it look any better? It looks like it smells. I mean,
It does.
I mean, it's just an eyesore.
Mhm. And that's most of what our problems are, is that some of the stuff that it can be a little paint throwed on it or fix the fence up on it and it'll make it look better. But we have, I ain't gonna call names, but I've watched some of them, they just ride past them and like, oh, well, so that's the biggest problem with the city, what's going on with us when it comes to certain projects. We ourselves can take the initiative and say, let's throw a coat of paint on it, or let's pick that stop sign up and put it where it's supposed to go instead of letting it go weeks and weeks and weeks without it being picked up. Which I know we have a lot to do. I know you guys do a good job. I would not take that from you, but You know, you always have the bad that make the good look, you see?
Well, I would love to, you know, maybe have, there's some trim work that's fallen off just from, it's old and one of the vents.
Yeah, cause it's real rusty.
Yes, ma'am. And,
That's like a firehouse.
maybe even put a privacy fence or shrubbery around it.
Mm-hmm,
Then also too, it'll have to be maintained, the
mm-hmm.
mowing and the trimming and all that. So I don't know if it's something, you know, we could, you know, I don't know if the inmates could paint it or, but I just, with everything we have to do now, you know, like the rain and the water that we have to
Mhm,
process.
mhm.
And I hate to tell you, I would love to tell you, yes, ma'am, we can stop and we'll paint it and all that.
No,
But, like I said, I myself would love to see it painted
mhm.
and the fence repaired, but it all comes down to money and time. So, like I said, we're working on many things.
Mhm.
And it's, it's looked terrible. I started with the city in 17 and it's looked terrible.
Ever since. Mhm,
So it does, something needs to be done.
mhm.
Should have been done.
Yes, ma'am. But, you know.
So how big's the fencing around it? Like a 15 by 15 or 20 by 20 or?
Probably, I'm gonna say 75 by 75, maybe.
Oh, it's that big?
Yeah, well,
Mhm.
the property is that big, I mean. I've seen the chain link, a lot of inserts, you know,
Yeah,
where you can't see as well in it.
you had the little privacy slats, like whatever they're called.
And I would love to change where the gate of it is just for safety reasons, traffic, you know,
Uh-huh.
just getting in and out of it.
Mhm.
But, you know. Yeah, I mean, just, I know it's not a park, but if there was a way to, you know, make it look like a park, just, you know, beautification,
Yeah, there you go.
and there is a sidewalk there. And, there's a lot of road traffic and a lot of walking traffic.
Mm-hmm,
So I mean, it's in the public eye. So,
yes.
but we, you know, we try to focus on like the actual working of the station.
Mm-hmm,
The stations have their life expectancy. So we're trying to put in the budget that they'll have to be replaced, and when, they were rebuilt they're supposed to be rebuilt every 4 years, they were rebuilt in the end of 2021. And there's 3 similar lift stations, Goodman's, Warner, and the main lift station,
mm-hmm.
just to rebuild them to where they will handle the flow and they'll pump like they're supposed to. I think it was like $34,000 or $35,000.
Mm-hmm.
So, we try to take the taxpayers' money seriously, and we're trying to develop a plan to slowly, upgrade these pumps. And, yeah, I agree with you. Goodman's is kind of hid, you can't even see it. You just got, got a fence around it, but, yeah, Warner's.
Public eye. Can we look into that?
Any other discussion about anything about the property damage? Not, we'll move on to agenda item 6M. City attorney to discuss the city of Perry versus Fred Sellers legal matter. Take any actions deemed necessary.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to discuss the status of the city of Perry versus Fred Sellers et al. Matter. You all who have been here for quite a while, you're familiar that Fred Sellers is a citizen who lives off of Bacon Street. And there had been a nuisance complaint filed. Mr. Ray Curtis, the prior city attorney, was asked to file for a temporary permanent injunction because of the nuisance that was described as gambling, prostitution, selling drugs and things of that sort. And when Mr. Curtis, looked up more information regarding the property itself, including, like the boundaries of the property, it was determined that actually the city of Perry owned the property, in that neighborhood in which the house that Mr. Sellers and his wife, Shonda Manning, lived on was actually on property that was owned by the city that was given to us when the subdivision was created, I believe in the forties. So then what was added to the complaint besides the temporary and permanent injunction was an action to eject them off of the property. Now, this was filed back in 2021. And since then, there has been a summary motion, meaning arguing that the law is on our side, which I think the law is on our side regarding both our complaint terms. But so asking for the court to make a decision just based on the law, without much other testimony, just based on the law. Because unlike private citizens, we can't have the city can't have its property taken just because it hasn't been using it or adverse possession. So whereas a private citizen who had property that they knew someone else was using it on for 20 years or 13 years, and then try to come back and encumber that property or sort of like punish or to that person's disadvantage, remove their ability to use it, that family or that owner could go to the courts and say, hey, we've been adversely affected because we relied upon our belief of what we own. And so we would ask that property be considered ours, not the people who own the deed to it. Well, when you're a government body, and you weren't using a place that was an alleyway or access point, someone can't just say, well, we've been here forever. The government's protected from that. The reason why I wanted to bring this up is because there has been continuing negotiation with the opposing party, with their counsel, John Black, who has like decades of experience in land litigation out of Tallahassee. And we have been trying to negotiate a potential resolution just to see what was available. Could you go to the next slide? And please forgive me if I'm repeating a lot of stuff that you already know. But what I was hoping tonight is to hear from each council member as to what, if any, resolution they would like me to see and review. Understanding that this is not the last discussion, it's just, there's many ways that this can be handled. And Judge Parker has given this case over in January to Judge Blue, who is stating basically we have to, well, I won't say what he said, that we have a court date for March the 4th to have for the trial to begin, for the city to argue their motion of summary judgment, and depending on that decision to go forth with a trial, where the court will just make the decision. And so what you see on your screen there, that large blue rectangle is the lot that the city owns according to the deed records. And that red box, I guess is noted here, the Manning Sellers, that's the lot for the deed records that they own. But in the middle, and you may see it through the trees, there's a house. The house that the Sellers live on is on the city property. In fact, there is an argument that it's more of an encroachment than just a pure parcel aspect. I've gone to the land several times, just try to see it from an aerial versus 3D person on the ground view. I argue that is this sort of like makeshift driveway that's on the boundary. And I think the opposing counsel is arguing that that's a part of the house. But either way, as you look at it, the practical implications, and I'll just put the temporary and permanent injunction to the side, just the question of injecting the Sellers off of the property. So we have the opportunity to continue with the complaint as noted, that they have to remove themselves off of that property. And we would then have the right to demolish the house or do something else with the house. But according to the law, any improvements that have been made on the property can be assessed I won't say against us, but would be a portion of what the city has to take into account. That particular lot, and there's some arguments that the lot value may be compromising this assessment, because it seems that it continues to be described differently, but on that lot itself, the blue box, it assessed the value of the entire lot for $12,000 and the red box lot for $16,000. So if we did eject, we can have them to leave the home, and we decide what to do with any property that's found on the home. But we would, we meaning the city, would owe the people who moved out of the home some type of value for what is considered arguably improvement of the home. Other things, and I'm just looking from the city point of view, other ideas had been to switch lots, if you would, and sort of that long blue rectangular box, to split it in half and switch lots. And that is an idea that also has come up, which is why I was arguing that the house was fully on one lot. But that is an option as well. But the issue, and of course, the sellers have the choice to put money into trying to pick up that house and moving it to that lot. And it's no insult to them, but if anyone's familiar, I don't know the value of that. The house is in not the best condition, but that's, their decision. And another decision or idea is, and that they've offered to their attorney, is to buy the second lot to the red. So it's their red lot. So to buy the blue half, and I'm not on there, but hopefully you can see where the numbers are. I would suggest the numbers up, to buy that lot and just create 2 lots for their home, and buy that lot, since there's some question again where the line cuts down, and I didn't have a surveyor with me going out there, but a surveyor has gone out there. But to just sort of complete that lot, since there's some division potentially of property or the house in the borderline. So that is a question, if we want to eject the people from that property, potentially switch lots. If that can be divided up in a way that I'm not capable of deciding, I don't know how to draw those lines, or have them buy that lot. Now the red boxes, the red box lot is valued at $16,000, and the blue box is valued at $12,000. So of course, if we were looking at just what is being valued, I'm probably doing it way too simple to suggest that potentially that amount would be at least $6,000, which it would still be pretty hard for the sellers to pay off quickly, but their opposing counsel has offered that as a potential resolution. Now,
What
Go
about
ahead.
what about the 2 yellow lots you were talking about? How that it would still be an access issue, would it
Right.
not?
right, yes, it would. I was just sort of gonna go to that.
Gotcha.
So that potentially resolves the argument of moving the ejectment aspect of just those citizens being removed from the home and the city taking that property back. But what it does not cure is that we have those 2 yellow boxes at the bottom that the mayor's pointed out that are landlocked. And the land to the left, lower bottom, that seems to have gone to the Horace man's family still. Is not, the deed is under a different person's name, but the address is still the Horace man, like his wife's address. And to the right, Derek Nels owns that property. And I don't know if you can push that up. We have Bacon Street, but then there's Union Street. That's right. Push it. Yes. You have Union Street. So, and it's hard to see but almost where the V is, that lot that goes directly to the street is also owned by Derek Nails. So there's still an issue of there being landlocked property. But in my research, I even bothered Danielle today. In my research, there would be benefits of creating easements, even if, and that can happen a lot of different ways. Of course, regarding the property negotiation with whatever is exchanged, if exchanged or sold or switched with the sellers in the city, there can be an easement coming from Bacon Street. And I put in a call to Derek Nails only because at one time I was trying to like, well, what if we took this piece and gave him that piece? I was like, yeah, that's why I'm not a surveyor. But just because although there is not very obvious to the right side lower box, there is now a house on it. It's sort of like a shell of a house. Like there's nothing inside, but onto to the left, there is nothing there. And just in looking at either easement by necessity or prescriptive easement, because landlocked properties have the right to have, of course, a right of way to their property, that I no longer think it'll be as difficult to make sure that the landlocked properties have access, because the owners of the yellow box are also the owners of the lower box going to the street. Does everybody get what I'm saying? It's not drawn in, but the lot right there, yes, thank you. Is that your pointer? That lot, it also belongs to Derek Nails. So he has unencumbered access to Union Street. It would be this small, it's actually so much smaller than it looks, but it's that piece of land that has nothing on it that would need some type of easement. And I don't want to get too much into the minutia of easements, but I believe the easements would definitely be a measure to give that property owner access. And I think the way the law is, it would be pretty mandatory.
Who would give the easement?
Who would get it?
Give it.
Who would give it? The city
Give
would
the
have to.
easement.
The city, I'm sorry. I was looking at an easement by one which the property owners would agree, but when I went back and looked at this, I was like, we could place an easement on the city property. So if we were to sell or transfer, the easement will stay with the city property, and there would be an easement going to Bacon Street, which is not the closest, but it still would give access. So that way we wouldn't have to seek permission or tussle with the landowners who have nothing to do with the mess up of the deed office.
So that the blue box, you're talking about selling it or part of it or something to, that's where the house is sitting.
No, the blue,
Is it?
I'm sorry. I'm looking at his use of the mouse. That mouse, do you see where the mouse is on the blue? That's
I
where
do.
the house is.
Right, it's it's in the blue lot, basically.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The easement would come from where to where?
Well, that's definitely where I need a surveyor, but if you ever driven down Bacon Street.
I have, I'm just wondering, is there enough room for anybody to even drive past?
Exactly. I'm not a surveyor, so what I was told is.
It doesn't look like it's
What I
I'm
was
looking
told
at.
is that there used to be, because there's a lot of footpaths and
Yes,
sure.
traffic paths in this area by Munchies, is that there used to be a dirt road that
Between
followed
that.
that path.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I know that's
Another house.
unscientific, unverifiable.
Yeah, that was
So-
way back when Mr. Peter Well was living.
Bill McLeod.
I've
And Bill
driven that
McLeod, yeah.
in the past, I've driven that at work. There's trees now that's growing up, you'd have to
Yes.
clear the edge of that property line, there's dog pens and structures from the house to the property line as well that would have to be removed for an
Yeah,
easement to be.
tents and stuff.
There's a whole bunch more that you're not seeing because of the tree cover.
Mhm.
So I think it's possible, but one of the reasons why I said I know that all questions won't be answered today, because it was even more clear when I was out there, like, I'm not a surveyor. And so, but, I did meet with one of Mr. Nails doesn't live in Perry, Florida, and I met with the guy who handles his yard work.
Mhm.
And I mean, he just gave me that tidbit of information that there was a road there, and I just figured when it came to disturbing property access and rights, if we can keep it along as a part of the negotiation with the sellers, that would be the best. But the land itself is so small, but on that map, it looks huge. I just kept saying, am I missing something? So what I was, we have scheduled, I think I shared with you, March the 4th, for the trial. And that's just how I think, trial with all the witnesses, nicely subpoenaed, including our sheriff here. I mean, our city police chief, sorry. I apologize. Mr. Cruz and anyone else, available. So I always have to think, okay, we're going to trial until and when it's settled. But they're also, the opposing counsel is wanting to take a deposition of any of the people who may be testifying, and that deposition need to be done sometime in February. So when Judge Blue on last week was like, oh, we're having trial, so you guys decide what you want to do. As he expertly told me, when I was city attorney, we would have objected to 60 days have been done. So he's not allowing for us to sort of have this play out. So, okay, so here's what I'm hoping to get some feedback. I feel like I think I may know what your sentiments are, but I think it's important for this discussion and for each house members to at least allow me to know what resolution would you be most interested in pursuing? And I can get you more information, so I'm not asking for you to vote yes or no. But just, for instance, if the nuisance I did not talk about yet, but if the nuisance value plus everything else, including the fact that the city has a right to that property, that you see injectment as the way forward, then I know how to use my time regarding going forward, because I do believe the law is on our side when it comes to our right to take that property back. I don't know the cost of demolition. For some reason, someone suggested maybe $20,000. I don't know if that's a correct average. So we will be looking at the cost of demolition plus any added value to have to give to the seller's family if we were to take that.
Who determines that?
The cost of demolition,
The value you would have to pay.
the value and improvement, I believe that would have to be assessed by someone who deals assessment of property value. I don't know. That's a good question. Let me note that. I don't know if, I don't believe this is a direct, I do not know if the house, for instance, is valued at $6,000 and is torn down. I don't know that would obligate us to value and give $6,000. But I would take that at least as a small indication of how much you may be talking about.
Is anybody living in
Can
it?
you guarantee
Yeah,
it?
someone lives
They
there.
live there.
Okay.
Someone lives,
There's
Yes.
a minimum housing violation there in that structure.
the family lives there and they have a special needs child. I'm sorry, council member, what were you saying?
I said, can you guarantee that?
Guarantee what?
6,000, 3,000
No, that's what I'm saying. That value would have to be determined
by somebody?
by.
An appraiser of some sort.
Probably an
Yeah,
appraiser,
appraiser.
but I imagine their council's gonna argue for the maximum. It's a really long-lived and well-worn down house. So
Mhm.
it's in there to be valued at $2,000.
What is theirs?
It's their house.
Right,
They're enjoying living in that house. That's the best they can do.
Exactly.
no, it wasn't a criticism as much as I don't know what that value would be assessed at.
Oh,
I
I
understand.
didn't take it.
My fear is that somebody's gonna come in here and say that value is about $60,000
Or more
or more.
with the building.
Get into the jury.
That whole lot would be that.
I don't know why this is being so complicated. Go back to your other slide. Right there.
Mhm.
When Horace McLeod moved that house in He put it where he thought it would be.
Mhm.
And he was wrong,
In all these years, it never got.
all these years.
Mhm.
Why won't you just give them an easement on their city property? And they cannot, no one can build on that property in the future.
There you go.
Or sell that house.
Was it Bill
Or sell it.
Or sell
Huh?
have that triangle.
Yes, yes.
I wouldn't sell anything. I mean, no. That,
I
if
just
that's,
sell a house.
if that's, they can't afford to pay for anything.
I can say that the property looks a lot better. I don't see everything that used to be there. I guess Chief would speak of that. And I don't know whether they're doing that just until this case is solved.
Mhm.
I don't want to see anybody put out
Mhm.
because there is no place for them to go and bury.
They won't be able to afford the rent.
So that's how I feel. Y'all do what y'all want to do.
You're not much on evicting people from their houses either.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
what'd you say, Mayor Fitzgerald?
So I'm not much on evicting people from their houses either if it's not necessary.
Yeah, it's not necessary. Nobody's has told me why it might be necessary. Especially now, special needs child in there.
This all started from complaints from the
Right.
community,
It was
Right.
bad.
and it's
Understand.
taken further than we expected it. to.
Mhm.
All we're after is to abate the nuisance and the public safety concerns for that area. That's all we were
That's it.
after.
Mhm.
And as long as that continues not to be a problem, I'm fine with whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But whatever decision is made, it needs to be noticed to them. That if it continue, that activity
Sure.
starts up again, then it's a
I'm
different game.
sure,
It's different.
I'm sure you
Well-
can put that all on paper.
I was gonna
Well-
ask, could we do that?
Did that-
No,
I'm
Put
not an
that,
attorney.
down the easement.
But you're on easement, they're still
I
in
know on
city
the
property.
on personal property, you can't
Right.
tell someone what they can and cannot do, but on the
Well-
easement, are we able to?
Well, okay, two things,
Sure
because I
you
didn't
can.
get to the
Yeah.
nuisance part yet. But because there has been requests for a temporary permanent injunction, so the temporary's been in place. So a part of the permanent injunction, whether the permanent injunction is granted, what we asked for was a sworn statement that they would not allow the nuisance activities to go
Okay.
on. That's what's been written, plus any damages, okay? Not that we couldn't ask for more, because it's a broad vision of, and whatever basically fits the situation. So I don't think that that is the issue, but the opposing counsel has stated that whatever, if we were able to resolve the matter that would keep them on the property, they would put in whatever terms we felt necessary describing the conduct that would be permitted, and they would understand it's a breach of the contract, the resolution, if they were to allow it. And I just want to note these things. They're sort of tangential, but I just wanted to note them. There is, will you go back to the other slide? And I know all of you lived in Perry, but I haven't been here for years prior to a few years ago. So that little tree line that's behind Munchies, is, that tree line goes into that area. There's not a lot of, there's like the house by them, there's no one living there, there's a house across from them. While I was just out walking on the road, the nuisance I experienced was the people coming from around the wood line asking me for money. And asking me what I was doing there and asking me for my money.
What
I
you
was
looking
like,
for?
Daddy, would you come over here? But I don't know, and again, just like in anything, you can't try to, you get out of responsibility of something by pointing what other people are doing. But I'm just really curious if maybe code enforcement, if there's been a nuisance issue, if code enforcement can look at some of, maybe it's not a code enforcement thing, but there's a lot of trash, like that whole area that's
Needs
not
to be
their property,
cleaned up.
not the city
Mhm.
property. It just looks like where you're supposed to go and do drugs. And I'm just wondering, is there some also benefit to try to clean up that space and make that not hospitable to people who may need to take their activities elsewhere. But, you know, definitely that can all be written in the contract. So what the opposition, I shouldn't have just said, what Attorney Black had offered, noting that the family does have very limited financial means, was the idea of switching lots, switching that parcel, and correcting what everybody thought was the truth until the nuisance issue, or allowing them to take both lots and pay over time, or try to pay for the lot that most of their house is on, and continue with the lot that is placed in the deed record.
And in about 18 months, you're gonna be at a foreclosure. If you can't pay for,
Mhm.
who's gonna pay for all that survey work? They can't pay for that. It's. Give them a lease is what I say. Easement. Make it.
Jamie, that area behind Munches, is that owned by Munches? Where
Well,
they actually sit at
part of
and
that lot, yes.
have we stayed on him about?
We have been after them.
Okay.
Our next step with them, we may have even taken to the magistrate. I'm not sure. We'll have to
Okay.
go back and check. The next step was start finding them for allowing that to go on. And then, you know, of course, we follow the established practices for attaching fees to property.
Because that was the traffic and that was the mess I saw. I mean, they kept their space. I mean, it's very modest, but they've kept it neat.
Yeah,
And so, you know, they've taken pride in what they have and they just, again, I just wanted direction from the council so everyone stand. Because actually what was happening and what can still happen, you know, if we don't make action towards it, it'll be dismissed, and we don't want that. We want to be able to negotiate with this going forward if we can't come up with a solution. But, I didn't want to just take for granted what the council's thought was. Would you all, someone share, the council members regarding the idea, that Councilman Vine said regarding, creating an easement, disallowing any further structures to be placed on the property, but not necessarily trying to sell them the portion that the city owns?
If the house, whenever it goes away, the easement goes away.
No,
No, when you
No.
sell it, it goes with it.
well,
If the house goes away,
house goes away, the easement goes.
right, it goes with the house.
Yeah.
I mean, it may not go away for 50 years. I don't know.
But we have not intentionally have not done any other code compliance actions on that property. pending
You
this.
haven't,
And we have not addressed it. So, there's a whole minimum housing violation issue that we're gonna have there at that property as soon as this is settled. You know, if we haven't looked, we don't know. Is there holes in the roof? Is there, are the windows missing? You know, we don't know. We haven't looked at it.
All of these homes.
Why is
lying
that
there,
our concern?
We got a lot of that
Minimum
area right
housing is
now.
Part of our LDR. And our regulations that we follow when we do code compliance.
But there's so many homes like that
You gotta
around.
start somewhere. There were 7 files yesterday, posted properties
I
yesterday.
just don't want us to over. Jesus.
And all these
I'm ready to settle. this.
people living in these little sheds, we're gonna boot them out.
I'm not saying we're gonna boot them out, but we have got,
That's the only choice you got.
if the council is worried about the appearance of the city, we address everything. And that's what we're slowly doing. You know, the hurricane stuff, we're not gonna do it for a while because we've talked about that. But there's ways to maybe point them in the right direction for assistance and funding to get some of this done. There are programs out there. A lot of people won't start that process unless they're forced to. I'm not saying kick everybody out of their house. I'm just saying, if it's unsafe to live in it, something has to be done.
well, I would say this, and I know we are sort of getting to potential future things, but in a good faith effort, since this case has been open since 21, if there's a way we can handle all issues, because it starts to get to a point to look like the city is harassing this family. I don't know if there's holes in the roof. I know that the house has upkeep, and I am acting on behalf of the city, so I take no sides. I just wanted to note this, that one of the issues opposing council first thought of was the idea, would the city be happy if they tried to put a fence up? But in looking back at our complaint, you know, they're not responsible for the
What goes
drug
on.
hangout under
Mhm,
the trees,
mhm.
right? So I'm thinking, even though they have very modest means and a special needs child, if there's an improvement that's noted, not one that we sort of think could be there, then I believe they will be open. They just want to be done and not worried that all
One day
this
they're gonna
time
be told
they're
that they
gonna
gotta
have
get
to
out of
figure
their
out
house.
something else.
Yeah.
So that's why I definitely wanted the city to direct me as that. So what, let me ask, so in finding out what that house would be valued now, or the cost of improvement, or we just, I'm trying to see, I'm sorry, I'm thinking and talking out loud.
Well, if we don't give them some kind of easement or whatever, they're never gonna be able to improve it because it isn't sitting completely on their property. If they get an easement where it will sit, a legal easement, they could improve it.
Yeah, cause then the county done got
Am I
some
wrong?
flood and ship stuff going
Yeah.
on now.
You
so,
see where I'm,
yeah.
you see where I'm coming from? If they have some kind of legal,
It has to be in their name.
right, even if it's an easement,
Mm-hmm.
it's gotta be something ironclad to, you know,
Yeah.
yeah. I have an easement idea.
Yeah.
Like I said, if it ever goes away, the easement goes with it.
What I can tell
And
you
then
is
it-
that, and
but-
then
but-
next, I'm hoping by the next meeting, but even prior to that, we've been working on sort of a boilerplate agreement. But one of the things has been the aspects of the surveyorship that, you know, the idea, I don't know why I had an idea that the city just had surveyors we could use, whether we have to hire a surveyor to go back out there or not. But I'll at least have something to give you an idea of what's being requested, just so that, you know, we would like to resolve the case as a case versus something be dismissed or go through the cost of trial and subpoenaing just for a resolution. Everyone seems to be like, you know, there's another way of handling this matter, especially with property that we didn't know that we had or have a use for, a clear use for, other than access to the other properties.
Are there any utilities down it? Just strip of any kind or any reason there's no reason not to
I
do
don't
it then?
believe so, but I know that I only talked to Danielle today about easements, down that property. I do know the middle part is not developed, but then there is a church there, so I don't know. We would definitely have to get people who
It's
are.
not.
Okay, how big an easement would we wanna allow just for the structure itself or a little room around the structure?
Could you go back to that other? I guess where a surveyor or those who deal with this could definitely help, but,
Building on this lot and building on this lot.
yeah, there is a,
Years ago. I
the
think there
description
was
of
two
it says
houses.
that.
I think there was actually a house on the lot that his house is on and a house on the other one. That's something we may can look, of course, McLeod has a very big file over there.
Mhm.
And I think one of those houses was demolished.
That's.
Yeah, I
that's
think
fine,
it's
yeah.
burned.
or
You gotta
burned.
The one
find
that
it,
knocked
it may
down?
not be accurate to the survey either.
Tell me.
That's why I wonder if the value of the lot that belongs to the city, if it's correct. Because even now, the Fred Sellers lot has a picture of the homes and the lot that's actually next door, the city of Perry. So it just seems like, again, I know a surveyor is not an answer to all things, but there needs to be a lot of corrections. Because they bought the property at value of 16,000, which would have been the picture, which is the larger lot, but that's not what that picture doesn't coincide with the lot number.
Mhm.
But there is only one home on that
In
structure.
that area.
And then there's like, I call them she sheds.
Mhm.
There is some type of she shed or some type of shed, and I saw an air conditioning unit in it.
In it.
And I mean, because their attorney wasn't, I didn't ask questions or talk, but I saw a pretty sizable one that had an air conditioner in it, which could just be like, you know, someone cooling down when they work, but, it looked like there was like.
A tiny house.
You know.
Yes. Mhm.
More
We have
likely,
them, we have them everywhere.
we do.
Mhm.
People are making do with what they got.
They have, yeah, they have to.
Can I say what I think happened here? Bill McLeod was a city police for many years. He bought that house at the South End and put it there. He also had a house behind there, which he lived in. So it didn't really matter if it was city's property or not. That's the way I see it. That's the way a lot of stuff was done back then. And that's why we're gonna run into a lot of problems like this.
Mhm.
They'll come up every now and then.
Every now and then.
You're right, things used to be a lot more loose than they are now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As far as
yeah.
doing things.
So I'd say let the people stay in their home. Give them, the stipulations or whatever you wanna call it. And let's get this thing done.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Thank you all for your feedback, and I will get back to you prior to our next meeting as to. I don't know the surveyor that was used before, but we do need to at least have a little bit more understanding of what, where the property is and the property lines, but you all, thank you for, sharing.
Thank you.
Just one last thing I want to say is go as far as you can legally with, this is a place to live, not anything else.
Party side.
Yes.
That's my concern.
That's,
That's my concern.
sure.
Well, that was,
I thought she had on.
that piece of property had the most complaints out of everywhere for a long time.
Mhm.
Couldn't even drive down.
You couldn't drive down that road. And that's what started this whole process.
Yeah.
You did a good job, Chief.
And Chief, I'll get with you with maybe some practical things, because definitely in resolutions, there's things that are not required by law, but could just be a benefit of the bargain that we can have them agree to. Actions that normally people would have the right to do on their property as a way to sort of exercise a little bit of more direct conduct accountability. You know, within reason.
And they're open to stipulations.
Yeah, they are.
Mhm.
They're just, I mean, like you even noted, there has been no complaints
Well,
since.
I haven't gone back and checked. I'm just saying this is off of my recent recollection.
And I also understand, I think one of the complainees passed away. Like this thing-
I think,
Is that not true?
no,
No.
no. The
Oh,
person that called me the most at night, I think he's still alive.
Mhm.
oh.
Yeah, he still
okay.
calls.
It was two of them.
Yeah.
One little cross country. Yeah. I think it's a big improvement.
It is.
Yeah, I think Florida statute has it covered on what they shouldn't be doing under that public nuisance statute.
Mhm.
That procedure for abating those nuisances. So if there's anything else that we can get out of it, that's a benefit to ensure safety and security and peace of everyone else in their own homes. Because, you know, their activities were intruding into other people's properties and their ability to.
Well, I was thinking about the practical things. Like, I don't know what the zoning rules are regarding how many people how many cars you can have in a residential area for how long. Not of course abandoned, but I know one of the complaints was like, there were so many cars and traffic, it was like a club.
Yeah, you could
And
never
that's
get
not
down that
illegal.
road.
I mean,
They took
that's
over
not
the street.
illegal necessarily, but if that's
Well,
a
it could
problem.
be now. There's legislation created in the last couple of years that deals with special events. And if they continually block the road, it could be considered a special event. We can post signs and address it that way too, so.
I don't think it's the traffic, the driving traffic anymore. I think it's more so the foot traffic.
It's about 70-30.
Mhm.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad that it seems like they've obeyed the system, cease and desist and temporary, and their desire is just to at least their express desire is to keep their home and
Yeah, and it's really taking the focus off of their child because they're so focused on getting this over with and constantly having to run up and down the road and going to meetings here, meetings there, you know.
And I just have to say one other thing, for the chief. He's been doing a terrific job, and when they run, they speak it from one corner, they go to the
They
next.
find somewhere else.
It's a constant thing for them to
Mhm.
do. I do think Munchies should do something about that traffic, but as long as they're buying beer and stuff.
rolling
they're fine.
papers
There's ways that we can
and
address that.
baggies.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah, cause y'all got choo-choo's
and
traffic to
the
slow down.
church is there, yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, we're working with, you know, we have 4 people in the academy now. We got one that will start back in March. And then it'll be June before we even get them in the car to start training them.
Mhm.
So we're shorthanded now. So addressing these extra things is a luxury.
Mhm.
You know, we're barely getting by answering the calls we have. So as we get more people on the road, we can start addressing these nuisances more effectively.
Gotcha.
In 7 townships. It allows us to work across jurisdictional boundaries in times of emergency or a routine nature as needs arise upon a request. Just, you know, just sign it and forward it to the FDLE.
We gain more than we can give.
Yes, we do. You know, we were impacted, a lot of these counties were impacted from the hurricane, but some on the fringes weren't, and they may not have been here helping us, but they were helping us organize and get stuff to us as well, so. We actually used Columbia County Sheriff's Office not too long ago to recover some evidence. And they came in, and it's based off of this agreement.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, so something we would continue. A question was asked, why, we don't do it for more than a year at a time. Well, you get 7 municipalities and 7 counties to agree to something for more than a year, you've done something.
That is so true.
Now, the agreement between the police department, me and the sheriff
Sheriff,
is for
yeah.
4 years.
Mhm.
Basically, his term of office, it expires and it's renewed based off of whoever the other sheriff is. We tried to do that with this document, but it dies after a year and we have to redo it every time.
Need a
Does,
motion?
does that have to come to council every time or
Every year.
Yeah, every year it does.
it's gotta come to council?
Uh-huh.
And
Okay.
the motion is to allow me to have the signing authority to enter in this agreement.
Got a motion and a second.
Motion,
Motion.
Motion.
Motion and a second.
Okay.
No.
No.
Motion.
The second, okay.
Mr. Burns. All right, Councilmember Brian.
Yes,
Councilmember Hampton.
Yes,
Councilmember Woodfolk.
Yes.
Mayor Ketchum.
Yes. Agenda item 6O, approval of minutes of the December 12th, 2023 regular session. Any comments or do I have a motion?
I got a question. I'm on page 3. Second paragraph down. Last thing,
Page 3.
page 3, second paragraph.
Additionally.
additionally, Mayor Kedron asked Mr. Brock if he would be able to work toward removing some of the vehicles, clean the property, and come into compliance. What's the conclusion on that?
Basically, has anything
Have
happened?
y'all
That's
went
what
back
you're
and
asking?
checked up on it? Jamie, that's what.
It was checked on the end of last week, beginning of this week. Well, this is the beginning of the week, and there have been some vehicles that have been removed.
Okay.
We've been in contact with the actual property owner as well. And he was going to ensure that he complied with the rules and regulations and guidelines,
Okay.
or he was gonna remove him from that property. So,
Mhm.
ultimately, the property owner receives the fines. And the owner of that property doesn't want to receive those, but he's actually helping us push that a little bit.
Okay.
We're not at the point we want to take it to the magistrate.
Mhm.
So basically, we have rejected this.
Which, that last
That
paragraph,
sentence. If he's agreed to do this, why would we bother him at all?
to check, make sure he's complying with what his agreement was. And by going by and looking, and he's not making contact with him, he's just looking to see if he's doing it.
Motion,
So hold on,
coming back to it later.
okay, babe. With this, Jamie, you say you went back a week later and he is being compliant with removing vehicles and
That's what
cleaning
I was
up
told
and.
by the
Code
code
enforcement.
compliance officers, that the vehicles have been, some vehicles have been removed.
Okay. I get.
We have not made, we haven't made further contact with Billy at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for me.
Have a motion, we have a second?
Councilmember Braun.
Yes.
Councilmember Hampton.
Yes.
Councilmember Woodhull.
Yes.
Mayor Petrie.
Yes. City staff. Who wants to be the first to go? One.
I don't have anything.
Okay, city council request?
No, I didn't do it. I'm trying to think.
Okay.
I got a couple of things. Who maintains stripes Woods Creek Road from the 19 to the city limit? Is that county or?
That's
we-
county.
Pretty sure the county.
That's
I
county.
think it is.
I think they maintain all of that office.
That little section by the church there was the city road at one time.
Yeah, the
Julia,
little
the
dirt.
dirt road for it, but that's on. Section.
Regarding that 5 million, I've had a citizens requesting that the asbestos line be first priority. But they didn't sit you for that, or what they did?
Brand new line, what we were talking about.
Yeah, the project is not to work on that line, it's to straight up do away with it and run a whole new line. It's-
Yeah, they would have to run a new line beside it and then
Yeah.
pressurize it and then slowly put the services on it.
Switch over.
You know, all the crossings, all the service lines, everything would have to be cleared back to you first, but there's a process.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
There,
I have a question on that. As I was reading it, I saw Andy's name. And I wasn't aware that that was one of the reasons we applied for that grant. Andy Jackson,
did we apply or did they just?
We applied, that was a very small portion, that was just to get some economic development within that grant to help get it approved. It was a
so
tiny
it's,
bit,
so the name helped.
and we didn't use his name in there, just said a 200-acre site. It could be used for future development,
Okay,
but that was 0.01% of the reason we're applying for that grant.
okay.
After this storm, Duke Energy especially, they do their thing, work on whatever they're doing. And they drop their stuff on the ground and it's all over this county.
Just left it.
And I'm gonna be real upset if my lawnmower gets into that stuff.
I bet it.
What can we do?
Where
Gotta
the,
be careful and pick it up.
Agree.
We got a Swanee County too, so.
were the,
Oh, yeah.
were the FEMA people supposed to pick it up, or was it? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
There's, I've still got it in my yard.
Yeah, it's still, there's wire all over the
Yeah,
place.
it's wire all over mine, and then the pole that's in the
Transformer.
yard that's connected to the house, my wire's still laying low.
Call them and find out.
Cable.
Mhm.
I mean, if we can pick it up and put it in the garbage can,
They start throwing their trade downs and whatever.
Whatever, yeah.
Make a little money off of it.
yeah, yeah.
Too bad it's not caught for it to be gone by now. It'd have been gone.
We hope.
We have,
Aluminum.
for a year, I know, talked
Yes,
about some
yeah,
resurfacing.
Yep.
And
I'm
we
dealing with that
talked-
with my other company and with the county. And they basically being blamed on FDOT, saying that FDOT released everything to go back to normal, basically, is what I've been told the last couple of days. Dealing with the debris and all on the side of county roads.
Mm.
The FDOT released everything, so
Yeah, I can see.
everything was supposed to be done.
But this, I remember when I was probably 10 or 12 years old, this guy found some railroad ties. He picked them up and sold them.
Mhm.
He served time in the state
Oh, wow.
pen for that.
Yep, that's a felony.
And he picking up utility, whatever. But, okay, we have talked and talked and talked
That's the point.
about resurfacing. And the first one I'm looking at is Blair Avenue. And the reason I'm talking about that Blair Avenue, because I sat right over there when, I don't remember the second one, but the first one was asking to have about street paving.
Mr. Clay?
George Clayton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
George Clayton was told, we don't have any money.
Mhm.
George Clayton was told, you get lied to is a good way to just go ahead and say it. And I've got a list here of these streets that have been discussed. Blair, Bishop, McCord, Duval, Field, Allen to Ash, Butler to Bacon, Dundee, Bacon to Schwartz, Spring Place, Blair to Maine. We need to get a plan in place to resurface these streets. Get the list, starts wherever, and we can come up with a pretty good estimate of what cost. But we need to put about $1 million back on these
roads.
Yeah.
It's been, it kept getting pushed back there, I guess, COVID since then, and the price of, the materials got so high.
Is it still high?
It's not coming down.
But it's, well, it's come down.
It started with Bob Brown.
Are materials still high, or
They're not gonna change.
they still up?
They still up.
$50,000 in,
No,
or you just made a
I
suggestion?
just,
He put
Yeah.
it just, mhm.
Okay, I'm not
Well,
really selling.
You know, Bill, you brought it up before, but you know, under local option gas tax, we've got $1.6 million.
yeah,
Mhm.
So, you know,
once you get a price for milling and a price to lay new, your spare yard price, you can go however far you want to.
This was my plan over the next 5 years for the CIP.
Did we ever look into
I know
LaCour
it's
Drive?
somewhere.
LaCour Drive, did we ever look into that?
You talking about the end or the whole?
The whole road itself? It needs to be added to that list.
Got this list right here.
Did,
Mhm.
the dogwood leaf,
You know-
did it fall off the list or is it on one somewhere?
What's that?
Dogwood Way.
Just that walking trail. I call it the walking trail. Around the
Mhm.
pond.
So that's the only
It's
way to
in-
do the
that's a
circle.
pretty-
Yeah, there's a circle around the pond. Everybody walks there.
Especially after the storm now.
Mhm.
And them
Two or
trucks
three
made it
of those
worse.
take up $1 million.
We just,
Mhm.
So you can't,
we just
right,
need
two
to
or
get
three streets can take up $1 million.
the,
Yeah, $1 million don't go like it
bid
used to.
and, go far as we want to.
This is my current plan, doing the worst, starting with the worst road in the town, doing 3 years.
What's wrong with Stevens Street?
Why would you do it that way?
Stevens.
Why would you work on one
That's a
first?
fun road.
I got $1 million,
We don't have $1 million.
sure do, got $1.6 million.
We just lost $1 million with the hurricane, FEMA don't step up.
You got $1.6 million in the bank.
I'm not spending.
And
You
I
don't
would-
need to break it up, because you're not gonna get any more.
No. I would like for LaCour to be added to that, because it has not been paid since that subdivision division got built in that area. And all the complainants on that road, they are calling me and complaining about
Yeah.
that bad road.
That road wasn't built to
I know.
fix it.
Mhm.
A lot of the roads were not.
Mhm.
Isn't that cul-de-sac at the end pretty bad off?
Yes, the cul-de-sac is. But they were talking about it one time, someone was gonna get a house built right there on that cul-de-sac.
It did.
They did.
There,
And why would you put large box and fly?
They bought
Man,
all the lots, I think, around the cul-de-sac.
Cul-de-sac.
I mean, and all of them.
So.
Based on tradition and the
Okay.
That's a lot of traffic.
I knew he had sold his house right in there.
I see it.
So he might. be one
I
to
think we
call.
ought to see.
What do we need to do?
Spanish accent
Well,
call.
why don't we,
Call
agenda?
DOT. Tell DOT to give us money to pay these roads. They rejected our 2 Scott grants.
DOT may give you money, but the engineering on that road is gonna cost as much as it does to pave the road, and it'll be 10 years from now.
I know, so we don't pay the
So-
engineer or the,
Uh, We've collected this money from the citizens of this city and this county. Why don't we use it?
I have it in my plan to use it.
No, you don't. You got to use a little bit of it.
Cause we get a couple hundred thousand every year.
Do I?
I think we get a couple $100,000 a year.
We don't save it for paving.
We use a lot of that to run general fund.
I'm
The
looking at
street
it, ain't it?
When the last time we did it?
$27,000 last year. That was it. We collected, but we sent it somewhere else.
Mhm. And we ain't done any paving
No.
And we were supposed to be saving 200,000.
a year for it.
When was the last road you
My
got paved?
motion is to get the bid documents out.
Right here, isn't it? Right here in front of
But
the.
that was
Ellis- Ellis
DOT,
Street.
that was
Yeah.
DOT.
Off of
Oh,
Grant.
DOT did that one? Well, when is the last one that we,
That's what I'm saying. I think it was pre-COVID.
That was back
Bob.
when
Bob,
and probably
Pre-
about
Did we
3
even do
years
this paper
before.
here?
did we do any, we didn't do
About
any.
3 years before.
yeah.
Well, they were doing every 2 years, right? Putting the 200 and 200 together, the
That's what we're
400.
supposed to been doing, yeah.
Yeah,
Haven't been doing that.
I know, I'm saying it's the last,
But that was one of the
Correct.
motions we made.
And that's one of the reasons that it is up to $1.6 million
Mhm.
sooner, because we've been saving the 200,000 a year for a bunch of years now.
and the price of materials are going up with it.
Well, luckily they have.
Hopefully they
come down
stabilize a little.
bit, but Yeah,
I'm not going back and looking at past, but I can tell
Let's
you,
do it.
you're
Get it
wrong
done.
about 200,000. You haven't been.
that, I'm just stating the policy of previous city managers, and they did do that. Under while some of these council members sit there.
It's-
And remember, we back up in the beginning of the fiscal year and the end of the fiscal year and spent 400,000.
Every time,
Just telling you the way it's been done sometimes. We could do anything we want today.
every time the council said something.
What are we gonna do? Anything?
I wanna do something. Cause these people are
So it's
complaining
gotta
about the
start-
road.
The roads aren't, they're not getting any better. And these big trucks didn't help
Are they
anything.
done?
We got to make sure we
Big
go to
trucks.
history.
I think they are.
What's happened, has been happening in this council room is one person may say, and since there's not three saying it, they do nothing.
Well, with the Rose bill, it was, well, it costs too much, costs too much, costs
Well,
too much.
Material
Let's
too
wait.
much.
Let's wait, let's wait.
Okay,
Now we're in this,
I received a fair number of calls concerning this B&B issue.
The what?
B&B, Brock.
Billy Brock.
The calls were, of course, from him, his wife, plus citizens.
Mhm.
Why is a police officer getting information from my vehicle? If the city is to work with Brock, why is anyone continuing to pursue this issue? The calls I got were from vehicles owners, and their conclusion will naturally be harassment. That's not working with the man.
There was one vehicle tag run.
Do what?
There was one tag run, not by Bruce,
I know, that's not my bird. Why would anybody run it?
because
Jamie?
it was not on B&B's property. It was on the church's property.
This particular piece of property happens to belong to, well, I don't know who it belongs to. It may belong to my niece, my nephew. I have no idea. But they got, something, I don't know what they got, a piece of paper that across the top said Perry Police Code Compliance. And I know that's not what we do. We got a little more. We've inspected your property and you're in violation of unregistered, unlicensed vehicles visible from the roadway. Well, that's true. I've tried to deal with this issue myself just to help those kids out. I went to the tax collector thinking that's the way to do it. I asked for a list. I took the bin and all the information, a list of the names and addresses of the people who own those vehicles. Can't give it to you. Against the law. I will write him a letter. He wrote him a letter, and naturally, two of those vehicles, the individuals are deceased. Three of them, I have no earthly idea who owns them, and nobody will tell me against the law. And I've had discussion with Jamie about this, and if you try to go the way the Florida statute, it's gonna cost somebody $600-800 for a piece of garbage that is sitting there.
If you scrap it, you'll get $300 out of it if you're lucky.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Now, but here's my real issue. It is also in violation of City Code 2462, permitting overgrowth of weeds and fallen trees. Fallen trees are from a storm, 2 storms. Then it goes on, this letter is to inform you about blah, blah, blah. Why on earth are we citing someone for fallen trees? That is about, I don't know. Now, and I don't know who would have filed a complaint about falling trees. It couldn't have been the neighbors because they're trees. And Jamie, you just a few minutes ago stated, we're not doing that. And I'll be darned if I don't have one in my hand.
You know, you're right. I did say that. There's no way around that. But that's not a citation. A citation is different. We're not going after fines or anything. These are the issues we found, is what it's stating.
This letter is to inform you that you have 30 days to bring the property into compliance, or code compliance will take action that could lead to a fine levied on your property.
And that's true. We're not
You're
citing them.
stretching things, and it's darn bad influence on the city.
That's the
Is that
exact
what was-
language that's been in use
Can I see
by
that?
code enforcement for the city for years. That's language that was in existence
That's
prior
what we
to us
send
getting
you
there.
to.
I will offer this council a motion to stop citing anybody about a fallen tree.
No, we don't need to be doing
Is
that.
this what we're sending out?
No, it's not.
No, that's just his writing from the letter that he read
Oh.
to Nick out, yeah.
I was gonna say, no, we do better than this.
I say, city's got a few, we got a few of them too.
All over the place.
Yes.
We can't. And those people can't do it, can't do anything
It's
about it.
got Bruce's name on it.
Also
And
saying
and we're
that's.
gonna be dealing with them
No, I mean, there's.
when we're
I agree with that.
cooking daisies.
But should we not mention you need to clean your trees up?
That's
Did
handwritten.
you saying we should
That's what
just,
it's saying.
should we
That's my
just,
interpretation.
should we just ignore the tree down? Or should we say, hey, clean your tree
Well,
up?
I'm taking care of it right now. No, what you should do is come to the council and say, look, we got a problem with all these trees, and we need to
Do something.
not enforce it or whatever.
So we need to come before the council.
No,
For
no.
permission. for
I made a motion to stop doing that.
Okay,
The city took a lot. I guess it was probably a house or something on it. Tore it down. It sits there. The individual across the street asks it to be cleaned up, the city lot. City won't clean it up. The neighborhood came out. We want, this is a 80, 90-year-old woman there. We won't do anything with it. And that's wrong. What they're doing is they're putting $66,000 worth of fines on something that nobody will ever pay, and the city takes a lot, and now we gotta try to keep it clean. That won't, we just can't do it. Stevens. I went by today to look at that condition of that house.
it's in bad shape.
Have you been by there lately?
No,
Anybody?
is it worse?
There's somebody living in it with a building permit in the window.
Yeah, well, I don't issue building permits.
Where's that at?
Stevens.
The last I heard is there was fines accumulating on that house.
Street.
Exactly.
I don't know who's living in
I
it.
don't either.
I'm not sure there's power to it. I couldn't find it if
The
there
house
was.
that burned,
Go back.
the house that interior burnt out. Is that the one you're talking about on Stevens Street, the brick house?
Oh, yeah, the brick house. Yeah. I don't know what you need to do.
Cause we had actually had surveillance on the house, people stealing copper out of it for a while.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They took all that down.
Yeah, that answers the power question.
There you go.
I'm just thinking.
Did they buy the house?
There's somebody that bought that house and is trying to, best of my knowledge, remodel it.
Okay.
He lives in his houses while he works on them.
That he does,
That's what he told on another
don't you have to have a
house.
CO to get in that house after it's been,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I'd have- we'd have
Be,
to-
Maybe he's living in a camper beside it, who knows?
No.
Is that it?
I'm good.
The fencing at Jerkins.
I'm sorry, what you said?
Fencing at Jerkins, I see where we got the wooden fence up now. In order to save money, can't we just take, besides the fence around the park, can't we just take that fence down? Because we're gonna continuously just keep putting money into
Talking about like
the chain link. Can we just take that down?
I'm taking it down.
Okay, all right.
I just think I hadn't quite had.
Yeah, 'cause it's
gonna
a
take a little bit of work, but
bad-
I'm gonna take that down.
Okay, where we at with the basketball court stuff?
At Lothridge,
Jerkins.
Jerkins.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I just want to go.
Actually, it needs to be redone. We got cracks in it again.
Again?
Uh-huh.
Wasn't it a sinkhole before?
I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know the history on all that. Some of the history I know, but some of all of that over there used to be a dumping site. Yeah,
Okay,
so,
well, it wallows. in
yeah,
water.
yeah,
I'm working on getting quotes on both of the.
both of them, okay. Well, about the goals, is that something in-house that we can do, or?
It's something that we could do, but I'm looking at the quotes for.
Dog entire.
Yeah, altogether.
Okay,
We'll just see what I can figure out.
all right. Have we just put the splash pad issue on the back burner? Where are we at with that?
With the plumbing, it's hard to find a plumber right now.
Okay. What about the light,
The lighting's fixed.
lighting's fixed?
Yes. lighting's
Okay.
fixed.
All right. What was it? Oh, the equipment. I see that the storm got a hold of a lot of that equipment up there. Did we have that on there? The splash pad equipment?
Yeah.
I
it's-
think
it's-
there's damage to both like that.
Mhm.
they're both of them, it's-
And I would assume that's on the insurance claim.
Is it on that list of damaged stuff that we had? Cause I didn't see anything.
And there's a bunch for Rosehead Park. So I don't know how they classified it. But we can add stuff to that damage inventory list still.
As far as I know, it's on there.
Okay.
Because they, as they do them, they compile all this and then we sent this to all the supervisors and say, just look at the stuff that is in your area. That it's there the best as you can piece it together. Trying to remember.
I think we've all that have problems have gotten a good education about insurance.
Amen.
Who, yes.
And Danielle, did we ever get anything back from Duke Energy about the light situation?
Yes, he actually emailed a couple weeks ago and we've signed everything. It's just a process. They're gonna, hold on, I've got it right here somewhere. It'll be an extra like $63 a month for 22 lights to upgrade them, but it's just gonna take a little time.
Little time for, okay.
Is that the downtown ones or it's not?
No. Mm-mm.
Making a couple of trees brighter.
Warner and
Oh, okay, yeah,
Puckett.
all right, that was another issue.
That's it.
Brighter lights.
Yes, they're so dark. It helps now that the striping got done. It helps a lot, but it's still dark and we have a lot of people walking at night, coming from work and, yeah.
Some of the darkest areas aren't city streets though. And we don't control those lights on those streets.
Well, the ones that I talked to Danielle about, they're on balance.
The old Bixby Highway it's dark.
Yeah, it is.
And there's a big concern there.
Mhm.
We've had, nothing recent, we've had several fatalities there.
We have.
People
Yeah.
don't sign law
Oh, I know,
and they still.
I know.
They're afraid of the snakes.
Thank you. Miller.
I don't like them much either.
No.
They do that with the phone.
Oh, that's a different.
Okay. Just one thing I want to mention to you, Mr. Bryan, is talking about those old cars. I sent a chief a picture of there was a car shop or something up in, where was it, Jasper or Jennings or? Anyway, they advertised the cars in a legal ad, and if you don't come by and pick it up by this date, we're selling it. Type deal.
Abandoned property.
And we can't speak,
Really-
I can't speak to you in private about it, but I was just,
But this is tied up in an estate.
It is.
I got you.
That's the problem he's dealing with in this state.
Okay, I got you. Anyway, I was thinking at some point, maybe that'd be an option to.
I talked to somebody about get rid of them. He said, you ever heard of Grand Theft Auto?
I guess that's why they run those ads. It puts it in public and
Let them know.
you don't show it by this day, we're gonna,
And
Yeah.
on public property is different as well.
yeah.
There's things we can do on public property with vehicles that we can't do on private. But that situation that he's talking about is different.
Right.
It's property of someone that's passed away, it's tied up in an estate issue.
Oh, yeah, I get you.
And the vehicles on the property weren't owned by the person that passed away. So it's
Gotcha.
a complicated issue to deal with.
Phew.
So we're trying to figure out a way to navigate that as well, because we're gonna have these problems continue.
Yeah.
I guess put a blanket over it or something, I don't.
We had someone that bought a house north of Perry, and there were 5 vehicles in this big garage. The guy died, and there was no title on any of them. Them basically deciding they're gonna haul them to the recycling center and just crush them and hope that nobody ever comes back and gets them. And that's what they did, and nothing ever happened, so. We tried to help them with that too, and there's no help.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the others, the town cars didn't have titles.
You know, only I think is you
Sometime in
apply
the
for ownership
Mhm.
through the judge, because he can actually have award ownership of the vehicle or ability to dispose of it if you file the right suit, but it's gonna cost you money.
Yeah.
That's what the records do, like whenever they come to a, wrecked vehicle, they get them, carry them to the yard after a certain amount of time.
But that's different because it's
Yeah.
towed result of a traffic.
That's done up front.
Yeah,
We're
that's up
back
front.
in.
Yes. There's actually law that allows them to take ownership of those vehicles.
Right.
Anyway, I don't know if, John emailed it to everybody, but I just wanted to, I'm not gonna do it tonight. It's getting a little late. But anyway, accessory dwelling unit zoning. Some
Yeah.
places are going,
That-
some places are going to that for a multitude of reasons.
Mhm.
Cost of housing, an older person or even a younger person, whatever, needing to live on the property
Yeah.
with you or whatever. There's a multitude of reasons why it's done. It's nothing new. I mean, a garage apartment's an auxiliary, is an ADU structure of, well, I heard it called the other day, a dad pad. Mother-in-law suite, just, you know, and a number of things, but, and they're, if they're attached, I believe they're legal at this point, if they're attached to the main house.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This makes it where they don't have to be attached
There's
to the main
statute,
house.
or statute that,
Nice garages
Mhm.
and stuff like that.
That would require creation in our LDRs of that ability.
Yeah.
Is basically what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, I think what's happening some,
It's not, we don't have it in our LDR.
we don't have it, but
We need.
We have an
explore the
ordinance.
Possibility of adding it.
yeah, some agencies, and maybe Scott Coons can, or maybe somebody can come up and speak to us about it one day from the council, but, some towns have rolled their RSF zoning to ADU zoning.
This residential single family.
Yeah, just rolled it into what they call ADU, which I mean, like I said, it allows auxiliary, I keep saying auxiliary, it's accessory dwelling
Yeah,
units
accessory.
in a single, that's what it basically does, allows it in a single family.
yeah.
And they're all over the place already. I mean, it's just, I mean, before zoning, a lot of them, it was real common for a garage apartment to be built on a
But you're talking about
place.
detached stand on a parcel.
Yeah, I'm talking about this would make it, you can stand along the building.
Mhm.
Well, I read that it's gotta have a house and
Yeah.
then this.
Yeah,
But it's,
You can't just put one
on a
on.
piece of property. Okay, yeah.
but yeah, it makes where you can put basically 2 living dwellings, but the second one it's one of them's gotta be subordinate to the other. It can't be 2 big houses. You gotta have like
Yeah,
a,
that makes sense.
so,
There are places, I don't know, where you take something that small, that's all that's on that whole.
Tiny houses.
True.
Basically,
Yeah.
600 square feet and they're done or less.
I was reading the ordinance last night and we can't do it now. If you have, an accessory, no one can live in it.
Right,
If
but
it's-
if you change it, you could.
That's what I'm saying. We
Right.
have to change the ordinance. I'm for it.
Well, the ordinance or the LDRs or
Yeah.
zoning regulations or,
Yeah.
it'd be a process. It wouldn't happen tomorrow, but
Yeah.
I mean, and something to think about and
Mhm.
how we want to do it and make it where you can't just throw a tin shed up and call it a
There you go.
ADU type thing.
My grandkids got to look for me.
You know, that might be something that would be a good, if you changed your LDRs, then somebody might make a little village where they're selling
Right.
small lots, and Harry might benefit from that if you have
Yeah.
allow that type of community.
Mhm.
That might be something one of our builders might
Cities.
hop on.
Yep.
It's already happening in other places.
Tallahassee has one.
I don't know, but.
Yeah, they got several.
Uh-huh.
That would
Matter of
be-
fact, one of the richest men up there's the one pushing it.
Yep.
Brett Garney.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Anyway, anything else? Which one of these shall I hit?
Don't hit that.
Whichever you want.
Don't believe them.
All right.
Okay, I'm gonna tell a funny story.
Uh-oh.
Um,
Oh, yes, thanks.
Email.
Yeah, let.
Yes, Sonny story.